So everybody is talking about Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, this interview, but they're not really talking about the Groypers, the followers of Nick Fuentes. So there's an article about this over at National Review I want to share with you. Welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy here. It's Sunday night. Happy Sunday, everybody. And if you're new to the channel, no fancy graphics, epic soundtracks, nothing like that. What you see is what you get. So I'm not going to come on camera. I got to say this at the beginning of every video because I don't want people turned away just because they see a still shot here. But you're not going to see me come on camera and say, look at me, look at how much money I have. We don't do that here. So we talk about the news of the day, try to preserve great art, music, history, and culture. We do a lot of these videos in one take because I'm working with my smartphone here. But thank you again for watching and subscribing and being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy. And sometimes we have to point out the absurdity of culture, political culture, you name it. So what I really think is going on here is that these people in these parties, whether it's Republican or Democrat, are very protective of the quote-unquote party. You see, they're not open really to debate. They'll debate amongst each party, or they'll debate with their opposition. But any alternative view, they don't want that in their camp. They don't want it in their camp. That's the bottom line. And you can see that here in this article. So the title of the article, "The Groypers Are Losing." Now, this came out November 7th. They got a picture of Nick Fuentes here with his hands up in the air. You know that expression he does on his videos? Is he still filming out of his parents' basement? Just curious. He's like 27, 28. But this is by Noah Rothman. Now, this came out, as I said, November 7th. And it's a lengthy article, so I'm just going to read a chunk of this to you. And as you know, the president of Heritage Foundation, President Kevin Roberts, ignited a firestorm this past week, as it says here. They call it a fracas when he implicitly defended the presence of racist and anti-Semites in the Republican coalition by embracing the right-wing podcaster who never met an anti-American figure that he wouldn't platform, had been a long time coming. Pardon me. Roberts likely concluded that there would be no serious consequences for such recklessness, but he was wrong. Such recklessness. All Roberts did was come out and say, hey, look, you may not agree with Nick Fuentes, you may not agree with Tucker Carlson having this interview with Nick Fuentes, but Tucker Carlson has the right to free speech. He can interview whatever or whoever he wants. He can interview a rock if he wanted to. So Tucker Carlson could interview whoever or whatever he wants, and there's not a damn thing you people can do about it. Just get over yourselves. Just get over yourselves. I mentioned in my last video Barbara Walters and the Fidel Castro interview. And she loved Fidel Castro. But did she really, have a little fling with him? Nobody really knows. The forces that Roberts' abdication of responsibility awakened are formidable, and they put the right's most provocative elements on the back foot. Right's most provocative elements on the back foot. Those on the right who, quote, know what time it is, because you see, you don't. They do. These two parties, they know what time it is, but you don't. Have to be staring quizzically at their watches as they observe the reckoning Robert faces. The reckoning. There's that word reckoning again. After he stood up for Tucker Carlson following his interview with the vile Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is vile. I don't think he's vile. I think he just does a lot of this for shock value. And I think he's misled in a lot of ways, personally. Hey, he's 27 years old. How much life has he really lived outside of his native Chicago? The Heritage president's defiant posture is gone. Instead, as our reporters chronicled, because National Review, they're hard on the case here. They're following every lead they can. They're going to get to the bottom of it. He has had to endure bitter recriminations from the conservative movement and even within his own building. His latest video, which represents a dramatic backtracking from the first, features Roberts effusively apologizing for daring to suggest that Carlson's critics are representative of a, quote, venomous coalition that seeks to sow division. And this goes to show you the downfall of having the two-party system, or this idea of a party, because it's really not about American values. I mentioned that before. It's not about traditional values or, about individuality. It's about what's best for the party. But it's not working. Stalwart fixtures in the conservative ecosystem, members in good standing within the Heritage Foundation's fold, are abandoning him. We're not talking about those who can only muster a word of dissent if their names are not attached to it. Heritage's anti-Semitism task force, they got a task force now, look like an extinguished shell of its former self. I think that's how you say the word. It's EXSANGUINATED. Don't you love when they try to use all these fancy words to show how educated they are? Why don't you just talk in the plain, language of the people? You don't have to show us how smart you are. Noah Rothman. With prominent individuals and outside groups running for the exits before it cut ties entirely with the outfit. It is now an independent entity. Quote, we cannot allow the conservative movement to be corrupted and destroyed by those consumed with attacking America's Judeo-Christian heritage and values, the outfit's co-chairs wrote. Where's that happening? Now, to give the devil its due here, and I don't subscribe to Nick Fuentes' philosophy. I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a Groyper. But if anything, he's trying to protect, in a strange way, in his view, he's trying to protect Christian American values. His real beef, if you go and watch these clips of him, and yes, he's a Holocaust denier and all that, but I think his real beef here is that we're sending all this money to Israel and we've got our own problems to deal with. That doesn't make you an anti-Semite. I'm just trying to be fair here, look at all sides here. But he's not attacking America's Judeo-Christian heritage and values. He's questioning, why are we spending all this money overseas in places like Israel? Heritage scholars, fearing no reprisal, are criticizing its leadership without resigning their post, daring the institution's leaders to make an example of them, and so far calling their bluff. Quote, by resigning, we would accomplish nothing, wrote, for example, Heritage Foundation senior legal fellow Amy Swearer. Quote, we would only manage to hold the wrong person accountable for what? Frankly, I can only characterize as an institutional series of horrible, terrible, no good, very bad self-imposed injuries that we've seen. Well, you guys have been doing damage to yourself for a long time now in the Republican camp, as have the Democrats, because again, you're going by this idea of a party. Here's an idea. Why don't you take the R or D from behind your name, drop it, and just go out there and run on your own merits as a candidate? There's nothing in the Constitution that requires these political parties. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires that, so why do we have them? We don't need political parties. Now, if you really want to show, see, this is how stupid the Republicans are, and some Democrats too. If you want to show how fringe this guy is, Nick Fuentes, then maybe you should debate him if you're trying to expose him. Seriously, sit down, have a debate, and discuss these issues. And I'm pretty sure you're going to find common ground. But there seems to be, and it's just my casual observation here, there seems to be an element within the Republican camp that doesn't want that to happen. Because, you see, there's a lot of people grifting at the top. You got all these contracts overseas. We're talking money here. See, they would rather sacrifice, and this is true, they would rather sacrifice what's best for America and give this money overseas than do what's in the best interest of America. If that makes any sense. But it also says here, and the donors are getting cold feet. Quote, I'm waiting to see how things will play out, said one prolific donor who contributes over $500,000 annually to the think tank. To a think tank, $500,000 a year going to this think tank. Can you not say money machine here? It's all about the party, you see. It's all about the party. All these think tanks and these roundtable discussions and these debates on college campuses and TPUSA and the Daily Wire, you name the media outlet or the organization, that's what it's about in the long run. But if Kevin remains as president, we will not be giving to Heritage. Now, this I find striking here because you're all for free speech and the free flow of ideas. Isn't that an American value? But you're going to not give money to Heritage Foundation because this guy came out and defended Tucker Carlson, said he has a right to free speech and he can interview whoever he wants. Doesn't make him necessarily an anti-Semite. And I watched the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes interview, and nowhere in that interview. Now, could have Tucker been a little more forceful or maybe a little more probing in his questions? Yeah, perhaps. But you got to remember, he's doing this interview in his home. It's a different environment than sitting in a senator's office in the Capitol building. I mean, what would you do seriously, what would you do in that interview? What occasioned these blunt warnings? What occasioned these blunt warnings? I'm reading this cold, by the way. Likely the degree of backlash from all quarters of the American right to the prospect of allowing a self-described racist and anti-Semite and his enablers a seat at the Republican table. And the interesting thing is that Nick Fuentes is part Mexican-American. I think his father's half Mexican. But again, I think he's doing a lot of this for shock value. Now, this is funny. Obviously, we here at National Review came out strongly against Groypers, as did the Wall Street Journal. So too has Ben Shapiro, right-off center influencers ranging from CNN fixture Scott Jennings to the Babylon Bee, mocked and disparaged the vanguard of the incel revolution. So have powerful Republican lawmakers like Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, Mike Johnson, and John Thune. What do these people all have in common? They're all the establishment. All these establishment media outlets. Maybe the Babylon Bee is its own thing. Okay, that's separate. But again, you should probably sit down and have a debate with these people. The reason why they're infiltrating TPUSA or you name it is because you're locking them out when you should actually invite them to a debate, sit down, discuss things. And who knows, you might reach some common ground. But you're not going to reach common ground by shutting these people out. You're not. So I thought I'd share this with you. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, once again, this is over at National Review. The Groypers are losing. But I'll end with this. I think the reason why you're seeing this is because young white men today have been sold a bill of goods. They've been sold a bill of goods, and no one's told them about great art or music or the things that they could do, to go out there and make a better life for themselves. They don't have to be victims. So follow me on Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Go to X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed 1 on X. Now you can find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. Keep up the culture. God bless. I'll catch you next time. And you all have a great Sunday night. Take care.